If you are an absolute beginner music producer or someone who has a passionate desire to follow your purpose and live your dreams doing something that you love every single day, then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing my full uncut process of how I created the score to this intense train scene in the short film Caminantes Lamigos. I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes and share some tips on how to create tension and release in your music. Plus, I'm going to share the message of the story, the reason why I chose this story, and what we can all learn from the friendship between the penguin and the llama in regards to sharing, caring, and giving gifts, especially in the pursuit of our music dreams, so that you as an absolute beginner can find more meaning, fulfillment, and purpose in your journey towards a music career. So before we get into the full uncut process, let's take a quick look at the scene. All right, so now that we've checked out the scene, let's get straight into it. Okay, so I am just going to add another kind of drone note using the soaring high strings. Just to create that kind of suspense, anticipation of what's going to happen next in the short film as we approach this train scene. So I'm just going to line it up to start just as the penguin exits the screen as that camera moves. So I'm going to start experimenting with an idea to lead into this train scene, using some arpeggiations and a staccato feel. So basically with this scene, because it is a high intensity action scene, we want to create a lot of tension and build up to the moment that the llama saves the penguin, and that will be the release. So some common techniques in building tension and release in your compositions include fast rhythms, using dissonant sounds, rises, and a classic way to do this is to use a minor 2 interval, which was made famous by the Jaws theme. You just want to use it, but make it your own, vary it, and change it up, so you're not just copying Jaws. At this stage, I don't think I really like this idea, but I'm going to explore it a bit further and play it through again and capture the recording. Mind you, I did all of that without a metronome, so good luck with that one being in time. But essentially what I'm trying to create in this train scene is a lot of tension and release. So I really want to build up and amp up that suspense and tension to create that anticipation of, is he going to make it? Is he going to actually make it? Oh, look, I just remembered to put the metronome on. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I think I'm going to check the tempo just to see if there's a tempo change here. And it looks like there is a tempo change there. I think I'm just trying to suss out here what's going on with the little tempo change here. We have a slight drop in tempo change just on the last couple of notes of that theme. And this little idea is totally out of time. So some shortcuts in Ableton to help with your workflow. Command A is select all, Command U is quantize. And then you can move the notes manually using the arrows on your keyboard to adjust the timing and to move the notes around. So yeah, right now it's not really sounding that good. It's not really, achieving what I want to achieve. And that's okay. It's an idea explored. It's, about giving things a go, experimenting. And sometimes you have a winner, sometimes, it's a big flop. So it's just about exploring the ideas and seeing where they lead you. Okay, so I'm just going to be figuring out the timing of these little arpeggiations, ostinatos, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so yeah, that little metronome change is a little bit too hectic. Let's change it back. So yeah, I guess if you've seen part 1, you can see that I'm also struggling in this section and the idea isn't coming easy to me, and I'm also struggling with the timing again. Don't know why, but this was just one of those days where I struggled. All right, so this is where I decide to start moving some of the notes around manually just to see if I can get a better feel happening. And that's really, really fast. Really fast. So it's not exactly what I'm after. So we're going to keep experimenting with moving some of these notes around. Still not quite what I want to hear. So to move these notes around, I'm really just selecting them and using my arrow keys, my left and right arrow keys on my typewriting keyboard to move them around. And selecting them all, and Command D is copying them across. That just sounds way too fast. But, here I am experimenting, just seeing how it will pan out. So as I mentioned previously, this is the kind of first time I was attempting to create something like this. So it didn't come easy, and it was definitely a lot of trial and error. It's just way too fast. But it's in time. But yeah, it's just way too fast for what I'm after. But yeah, sometimes you got to be willing to create something really crappy to know what works and what doesn't. And it's okay if your first idea just absolutely sucks. So yeah, it's not really what I'm after. So I'm going to delete all of these notes and start again. Well, I'm going to delete the majority of them and see if I can increase the value of these notes so it's not so rhythmically busy. Oh no, we ended up deleting those notes. Looks like I'm getting rid of everything. I'm done with it. I'm done experimenting. Oh no, I changed my mind. Bringing it all back. So yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of going around in circles again. I don't really know what I'm doing. This is like... It's just too fast. It's just too fast. It's going to come to me very soon what I need to do. Ah, there we go. I told you I'd be increasing the value of the notes so it's not so rhythmically busy. Because we want to build up to that hectic kind of like rhythmically busy part of the scene to create that tension as the train approaches. So yeah, it's always going to be the way when you're trying new things, when you are branching out and challenging yourself in different ways. You are not going to be obviously as fast as what you would be doing something that you know and that you're used to. And what I discovered in this process is creating a film score is so much more different to creating a 1-minute beat. That's right. That's where you want it. I'm slowly getting there. There we go. Ah, nice and relaxing. Oh, I've just noticed that my video window has disappeared. I'm going to need to bring that back in a minute. There we go. Ah, video's back. So I wanted this kind of like casual build up to the llama seeing the train. So as the little penguin leaves, we don't know what's going to happen. Everything's casual. And then as soon as the llama sees the train, that's when the alarm bells ring. So I'm just listening back to the composition to get some perspective. So I think I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I'm consolidating this little melody and experimenting with another layer because I think that I need another layer. And it's in the wrong spot. It ain't in the right spot. But I abandoned that idea. Obviously, I didn't like it. Now I'm going to experiment with some percussion. So we're going to capture record that. And we're going to keep that percussion layer. Just adds a nice little texture in creating this world. And to be honest, I think I've gone back to this section and I'm stalling on the next scene because I don't yet really know what I want. Like I know what I want to hear in my head, but I don't really know how to produce that. I'm really struggling with that right now. So instead of trying to pull blood out of stone, I'm giving my brain a bit of a break by going back and seeing what else I can come up with in the previous scene. And this is sometimes really good to do if you're struggling with a particular section. You can always just have a bit of a break from it and go back over some of the previous work that you've done to see how you can improve it, to see what other layers and textures you can add. So right now I'm focused on adding in some percussive layers to the previous scene that I scored, as you would have seen in part 1. And I'm just going back over and seeing if I can add in some percussive layers. So here I'm going to experiment with the guiro and see if I can play something in. I've never played the guiro really in my life before, maybe a couple of times when I was studying music. But honestly, guys, I have no idea how to play a guiro, to be honest. But we're going to give it a shot. And yeah, it's sounding pretty much like shit. But hey, I'm giving something new a go, giving it a try, which is what it's all about. I might be failing, but hey, it's okay. Failing is a good thing because it means you're giving things a go that you would normally not really have any experience in or that you haven't tried before. It means that you're giving things a go. And even though I sucked the first time around, I still gave it another go, but I'm moving on. Seeing what else I can come up with. I honestly think I much preferred the other shaker. I hope I go back to the other shaker. Damn, doesn't look like I do. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to revisit this previous idea that I attempted and give it another shot. And at this point, I remembered I have already pre-made a bunch of ostinatos that I have archived in my user library. And this is a really good thing that you can do as a creative is collect different ideas and different chord progressions, melodies, and file them in your user library. So we're just going to have a listen through these different ostinatos that I created, basically in the key of C major. And that last one that we just listened to is the one that I want to use for this train scene. So I'm going to copy it over to the violins and see what it sounds like. I'm also going to copy it down to the bass line and see what it sounds like down there. Obviously, it's too high for the bass range, so I need to change the octave. So at this stage, I'm really just trying to get a sense of what the ostinatos sound like in this particular instrument in the lower register. So I'm really just experimenting to see which instrument would sound the best. Okay, so it looks like I might be just sticking on the cello now with this ostinato and layering it up on some different high registered instruments. Okay, so I'm just going to move this out of the way and I'm going to bring back the original idea. And I'm just going to deactivate the rest of that idea. Next up, I'm just going to fix some of the velocity of these notes in the ostinato. So because I'm in a 6/8 time signature, I want the accents to be on the 1 and the 4 note of the bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's exactly where I want the accents to land on those beats of the bar, the 1 and the 4. Almost there. We're going to have a listen back to it and see how that's sounding. Okay, so the rhythm's sounding good. I guess what I need to do is now vary up some of those notes, because I want to make the notes relevant to the key that I'm in so that it sounds like it fits in this world. So I'm going to start moving some of these notes around. And I believe I'm in the key of F major. So that's why I've moved these notes down to start on F. And I want the ostinatos to play an F major chord. So we're going to need to extend this so that it ends when the llama does a somersault. And that's where we're going to end it there. We're just going to deactivate those notes. And that seems like it's going to be the perfect length for that. Now we just got to get the notes right because they need to be workshopped a bit. But yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. Getting to that point. Might be best to listen back. Those notes definitely need to be fixed. Yeah. We need the notes, the rhythm to stay the same until that llama sees the train. So we're going to change that. I like to always consolidate my clips. Command J. We're just going to select those notes, Command D, and copy them over. And let's copy that one back to the violin. And we're going to change the range because it's the violin. Obviously not as low as the cello. Yes, that's working much better. The timing of that is perfect now. We just really need to workshop those notes. So I'm going to have a listen back for some perspective again. Okay, so I'm going to be searching for some sounds that would help to create some tension in this scene. So we have the ostinatos, which is creating some nice tension. I also want to, I guess, find some other textures and layers, perhaps like a riser sound, something that will add an extra kind of layer and texture to create that tension before the llama does his little somersault. So, what is tension in music? Basically, you really want to create tension in the music production through building up a combination of the rhythm, the harmony, the melody, and the dynamics. So, the purpose of creating tension is to really create an uneasy feeling or an anticipation feeling of what is going to happen next. And that's really important in this train scene. I really wanted to create a sense of urgency, a sense of danger, a sense of panic, and I wanted to use a variety of different tools and techniques to do that. So, obviously, as you heard and saw, I created some ostinatos and I still have to refine those ostinatos. But to give myself a bit of a rest from working on those ostinatos, I am taking a bit of a tangent and going down a rabbit hole, finding perhaps some other textures and layers that would create this tension and help me to build up the tension in this scene. So I've been testing out a number of different sounds and textures and instruments to see what would suit best. But to be honest, I really don't know what I'm looking for. So that's why I am taking a while. So, yeah, what I'm going to do now is actually go and explore some brass sounds to see if perhaps a brass sound would suit this scene. And we're going to have a listen to some of the sounds. So, while I'm searching for the right sound, let's talk a little bit more about tension and release. So, according to Masterclass, some of the ways that you can create tension and release include repetition. So, repeating the same bundle of chords or notes creates rhythmic tension by establishing a predictable pattern and putting emphasis on these sounds. So, as you can see, I did that with the ostinatos, which we are yet to fix because they could be much more better than what they are right now. Number 2, creating dissonance. So creating harmonic tension by putting two notes together that feel unstable and uneasy, like a middle C and its neighboring semitone C sharp. So did you take note of what notes were in my ostinatos? We had a C and a C sharp, which is the minor 2 interval, and the minor 2 interval has been used over and over and over and over again. You might know it from Jaws, but basically the minor 2 interval is a really effective way to be able to create tension and dissonance. Basically, the minor 2 interval creates a lot of dissonance. Another way that you can create some tension is through key changes. So when a song shifts between keys, it creates anticipation to return to its resolutive tone, the original tonic chord. Adding minor keys or moving out of the familiar note zone can also contribute to musical tension. So that is another way you can create tension. Number 4, dynamics. Music that increases in pitch or loudness builds towards a climax for the listener. So slowly having a crescendo from quiet to loud can create a lot of tension. Looks like I found my sound. It's a bassoon effect. I'm going to use a bassoon effect to really build this tension. This sound is freaking cool because it does actually sound like a train approaching. I love it. Capture record. Okay, so I'm just going to move that so that the sound ends as the llama does the somersault. Okay, looks like I'm going to experiment with the marimba again. Coming up with a little extra layer. And obviously I'm doing this to give my brain a little bit of a break from trying to figure out what I should do with that train scene. So it looks like I did a capture record on that little run that I just played. Oh gosh. Looks like I'm going to hopefully not take too long to line up these notes and get the timing right. I thought this marimba sound was perfect for the little penguin skirting off. In the actual final composition, I also added in an extra kind of texture for the penguin's little footsteps. So if you go back and listen to the original composition, you'll hear that the little penguin had some tambourines as footsteps, which I thought was like a little cute little touch that I gave the penguin because he's too freaking cute. So yeah, the penguin sounds was the marimba and the tambourine, and the llama's sound was the flutes. And I'm not sure if I did something else for the llama as well. But essentially what I did was I gave them their own signature sound. So whenever you see the llama, you're more than likely going to hear the flutes. Whenever you see the penguin and the focus on the penguin, you're going to hear marimbas and little tambourine footsteps. But I also did give the penguin another sound, which was the trumpet. I don't know if you remember the shooting out of the mine tunnel and flying in the air. When the penguin speaks, his sound was the trumpet. So it looks like I'm getting this timing. Boom. That's it. Okay, so now I'm going to be extending this little riff to lead into when the llama sees the train. Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted. So let's capture record that, extend that clip out, and we're going to make sure it lines up with the previous notes and consolidate that. Command J. It looks like we have some notes here that we need to get rid of, so let's delete that. Perfect. I love it. Okay, so what I usually like to do when I add something in new, like I always like to listen back to what I've just done in perspective with the whole composition. So I'm just going to have a listen back now to see how it's all sounding and fitting together. Okay, so now I'm on a mission to add in some new layers. And I'm just going to have a listen at the timbales and see if there's something I can add in with the timbales. So yeah, it doesn't seem like the timbales are suited. So it looks like I am exploring other layers and textures and sounds, seeing what inspiration comes to me in the moment. But yeah, essentially that's what you can do with characters is you can give them their own like signature sound that whenever that character appears, that sound is there. That's one little technique you can incorporate into your compositions. Obviously, I didn't really plan for that to happen, but as things unfolded, I was like, oh, yeah, the llama's going to have the flute and the penguin's going to be the marimbas. And it just kind of like, fell into place. It wasn't something I planned. Oh, looks like I'm searching for some more sounds here. I wonder what I'm gonna do. I love the harp. The harp just really suits, this kind of style of film, Pixar style animation, gives it that magical feel. So obviously I'm just getting a feel for how that instrument sounds, and yeah, I didn't feel like it suited the vibe. It was too kind of like Christmassy sounding, so we didn't go with that sound. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to be creating a new track here and adding a new instrument. So yeah, just a reminder that when you're creating scores, it's not going to be like perfect the first time. It's going to be basically a rough kind of draft outline. And really all you're doing is setting up the foundations so that you kind of map out, I guess, the foundational sounds that you want in the composition. And once you have those foundational like instruments put into place, like your chords and your melodies, that's when you can go back and refine your composition. So obviously what I'm creating here was not the final result. Okay, so I think what I'm looking for here is a action kind of percussive layer for this train scene. So let's see what I find. I honestly think those sounds are a bit too hectic and won't suit the vibe. So I really need to go for something a bit more, I guess, light. maybe like some orchestral percussion. But yeah, as I was saying, like your first kind of draft is going to be pretty rough, but you can always go back over your composition and add in all the bells and whistles later on. The main goal right now is to get to the end of the composition and have all the foundations laid in all of the different sections. And even if you feel like your ideas are bad, like just keep creating, because sometimes those ideas can turn into good ideas. It might start out sounding really crappy, but in the end, if you've seen part one, it all comes together. Yeah, and I also feel like it's really important to just keep creating, even when you feel like things are not working. Because, like I said, sometimes you end up in places you never expected. And another thing to take into consideration, try not to overcomplicate things. Keep things pretty simple. If you just start out with your foundational layers like chords, melody, bass line, percussion / drums, in a way, I guess creating a score is somewhat similar to creating a beat. You still apply a lot of the same principles, but just in a very different way. For example, most of your instruments will be different compared to when I'm making a beat, depending on what your goal is of the composition. But yeah, if you just keep things simple, you can build on the complexities over time. Looks like I found an instrument. Sounding like crap though. But hey, I'm just giving it a go. But yeah, it's definitely not sounding good. It's not really what I'm after. Looks like I might be giving up on that instrument. So yeah, like I said, this was the first time that I had ever attempted to create something like this. But keep in mind that as you practice and you work out that music producer muscle, over time things are going to come much more easier as well. And for me, I really believe that. Like for me, the more I practice 1 minute beats, the more faster I became at 1 minute beats. So the more I do scores like this, obviously the better I'm going to get. And it's going to be the same for you. The more you do music production and you practice it every single day, the better you're going to get at your craft. So it's important to keep that in mind, that consistency is key. Like I really had to apply myself when it came to beat making. I had to do it every single day, and I had to, like practice making beats. I even did 30-day beat making challenges and things like that where I made one beat a day. And it really does come down to consistency and how much time and effort you put into your craft. As they say, practice makes progress. But don't forget that the time and effort you put into your craft, the same amount of effort needs to be put into your internal emotional growth. Because just operating from your intellect all the time is going to be hard. You've got to be able to connect with your soul and your feelings and work on your emotions and work on all of the traumas that hold you back, because that's going to be a hindrance in your journey no matter what you do in life. Your emotional well-being should actually be a priority over your intellectual pursuits. Where's my video screen gone? Hello? I must have the video screen like outside of Ableton right now because, yeah, I can't see it. I may have it on my second monitor. But yeah. Okay, looks like I'm revisiting the intro. And it looks like I want to add in some harp to the beginning. Ooh, yay, capture record. Looks like I'm happy with that little run that I did. That harp just gives it that little extra zing zing. And obviously another way that you can get better at what you do is through analyzing other composers and what they do. Like one of my favorite composers is John Williams. Like I wish I could compose like him. I mean, I would love to get a masterclass from John Williams in composing for film. I would love to see one of his MIDI mock-ups. It like brings some kind of level of anxiety over me when I listen to his scores and I go, how does he do all of that? The way that he layers all these complex rhythms and sounds and melodies and, you know, modulating to different keys and things like that and just making it like sound effortless. Like I'm so jealous. Like for the minecart scene, I tried to do a John Williams thing, but it was way too hard. But I did actually emulate a John Williams composition, but it was one of the like easier ones to emulate. So you'll actually hear that in the minecart scene. But let's get back to this scene. Ooh, looks like I'm adding in another layer, sound effect layer with the tuba. So the effect of this is to give that little penguin a bit of a slide as he slides to the berry. Like the way that the little penguin slides in, I thought was pretty cheeky. So I wanted to have like a sound that like represented this like cheeky nature. So it looks like I might be moving on. So I'm wanting to find some kind of like transitional layer between the llama licking the juice and seeing the train coming. So I'm going to experiment with like a percussive hit. Just trying to get that timing right. Excuse my CPU. It is glitching out. Okay, I think I've got the timing that I want on those percussive hits. And now what I need to find is some action drums to go with these ostinatos. And the thing with choosing sounds, I guess you got to find a balance between, doing some thorough, research and also, just making a decision. Because, yeah, it's good to explore and take your time with choosing sounds, but you also don't want to take too long. You want to, go through and browse some libraries, but you also don't want to get just stuck on what you should use. So that would be my tips for when you're choosing sounds, is to take your time, but also make a decision eventually, And maybe narrow down the libraries that you want to search in. For me, I was choosing, my complete 14 library. And in the end, I think I just ended up going with what I normally always use, but I thought that I would, explore and see if there were other drum kits that I might want to use. But in essence, for this composition, I really needed to stick to very traditional, organically sounding drums that you would hear in an orchestra. Nothing too intense like trailer drums or anything like that. And going through these sounds right now, that's all they are, is big trailer hits that, you would normally hear in massive, big action sequences. And going through all of those, to me, just, made me realize that they're too intense for this scene. I just need some gentle kind of percussion that will go with this style of composition. And those other drums, like I said, were way too trailer sounding action drums. They're something that you would hear in a big action movie or something like that. And I really needed to keep this a bit more light and not as intense as those trailer kind of drums, those action sequences. I just needed to keep things a bit more light, in line with the style of this story. So I'm kind of going through and exploring here some other kind of lighter sounding drum kits like the cajon and some of those South American sounding libraries. So it looks like I might go with the Cuban percussion library. If I can find that again. Where art thou, Cuban percussive library? Now, this is not, Cuba is obviously not South America, but it does include some parts of South America. So I really like the sound of the cajon here. And I've never actually used any Cuban like libraries in my music before. So this is the first time I'm actually going to use some of this in this composition. So as you saw, I basically just did a capture record on that and duplicated the layer to see if I can add another layer of interest to create another texture. And it looks like I'm going to experiment with this groth instrument. I've never actually used this before in any of my compositions. I usually use the action strikes, but they have some nice sounding organic kind of like taiko percussion. So I think I'm going to experiment and see what this instrument is all about. I'm going to be honest, I actually don't really know how this instrument works with these graph style levels that I'm playing around with, but hey, I'm just experimenting and seeing what happens. So yeah, after having a play around on that, I decided that I didn't like that drum kit. And I'm going to go and see what else I can find. So I'm going to go back to the original idea that I had, which was to create another layer of this Cuban instrument just to add some variation. All right, so let's do a capture record on that and have a listen. Nope, didn't like that. Let's do it again. This time I'm going to record it in. Okay, so here I'm actually using the volume on the utility instead of the track, and I'm keeping the tracks at 0. And the reason why I do this is because I can have greater control over the volume in terms of when I'm automating it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is, I guess, find a suitable drum pattern to lead into that hectic train scene. So I want something a bit more kind of lighter and less busy. Yeah, so I think that was a bit too busy still. So let's see if there's a less busy pattern. I think that's a much better option. Let's record it. Okay, let's capture record. My favorite little feature of Ableton. Obviously, as I use it all the time. So we're just tightening up that timing. And as you can see, I'm automating the volume on the actual utility. This is very handy for when you're mixing and you need to pull down the volume faders on your actual track. If you automate the volume fader on your track, it's gonna be a pain in the ass when you are mixing. So I'm doing the same here with the volume automation on the utility. So I'm just seeing what that sounds like without that layer, but I think I'm definitely gonna keep it in there. Yeah, by this stage, I think those added percussion layers are really bringing this composition together. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate that layer and add in another layer, which will be my action strikes, the instruments that I was talking about before. These are usually my go-to for like organic sounding percussion. So we're going to add in a bit of a layer of these action strikes. Just a nice light layer, just to give that sense of urgency. Okay, so I'm just going to deactivate this layer so that it doesn't interfere with this new layer. Gotta get the timing right. Yes, we need to move that across. I think that the symbol should land on the one. Yeah, just like that. Now there's a real accent on that one. My CPU is glitching out, so that's what that little glitch is. It's not the timing or anything now, it's just the CPU. So as you can see, it's taken me about an hour and a half to get this far in the composition. I have been working on the train scene. I have been going back and fixing different sections of the intro and adding in new layers as I discover and create new layers in the train scene. For example, the percussion layers, I've gone and added some of those layers to the beginning. So, and if you're a beginner music producer or composer, this is what you're probably going to find is that when you have roadblocks, you'll go back and fix something else, and then you'll come back to what you were doing, and then you might create something cool like these percussive layers or something else, and then you go, that would actually work in the intro. And this is kind of what it's like with composing, is you get inspired as you go along. So now I think I'm finally going to be recording in these percussive layers. Let's see. Ooh, a bit too loud. Yes, I think that just like really brings this section together, this extra percussive layer. Let's record it. Oh, I'm struggling with that timing again. Not sure what's going on here. It's a 6/8 time signature, so I'm just trying to get that count in right and come in on the 1. So the counting is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and watch me struggle with trying to get this timing. I could just draw the notes in if I wanted to, but for some reason I'm being really stubborn. I want to play them. I don't know why. I think I like the challenge of just pressing notes. Okay, so I know why it's not working. I'm really trying to have those accented hits happen when the film cuts to each different element. So we've got the penguin, then the train, and then the llama. So yeah, I'm really trying to like have the percussion hit on those cut points of the film. But yeah, it's not working. So I just have to go with like the tempo and what feels right musically rather than hitting those cut points of the film. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, finally recorded something in there. Wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it works. But yeah, the timing's way off. So we're just going to manually line up everything. Let's just duplicate these, it's just going to be easier. Obviously, a faster way to have done that would have been just to, you know, record the first 2 bars and then copy paste across. But I kind of like to have fun pressing some keys sometimes. So I'm really just going to be refining these percussive elements over the next few minutes. So a little bit of a fun fact about this short film. This is a open source short film from Blender. Yeah, so anyone can go and download this film from Blender and do a score to it. So you might want to challenge yourself and go and get the film and create your own score. But yes, a bit of a fun fact about this film. I really loved this film. Like, I thought it just had such a great moral to the story. It was also heartfelt, which, you know, I love heartfelt, inspirational, like, stories. And I could actually really relate to the llama's struggle of like just having one berry. He just wanted one berry. Like, I could really relate to the llama struggle of that as a music producer. It's often felt like for me as a music producer, I just want one gig. Can I just have one chance to be able to, you know, make this journey, make this path that I've chosen like a full-time career and be able to eat, pay for all my basic needs like food, shelter, water. And so I kind of really related to the llama's like struggle in that way. Okay, so what I'm trying to achieve here is to create a little lead in before the llama sees the train. And I think that's important so that there's a bit of a smooth transition into these percussive layers, because otherwise it's like a sudden like change. So I kind of need some percussion happening beforehand to transition smoothly into that, you know, I guess hectic action like percussion. So am I the only one that relates to the llama struggle? Is there anyone out there that can relate to the llama's struggle to just have one berry? If you can, let me know in a comment below. Awesome. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a nice little transition into the action percussion when we see the train. Boom. I think the CPU is messing with my ears and making me question if that is on time because of the glitch. Because I think there's like a few layers going on. We need to bring down the volume of that track just so that it's not clashing with everything else that's going on. It is quite busy. So we need to have some layers quieter than others. Okay, so what I want to achieve next is adding in some accents on these ostinatos. So I'm going to experiment with the harp. Honestly, I don't think that is going to be the right sound. But we won't know unless we try. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be the right sound. It sounds too fantasy-like. So yeah. So what I'm going to do is copy these soaring high strings over. And those notes are definitely the notes that I want to really like emphasize, but the harp isn't the right sound. Yeah, maybe the harp can play something different, but not those accents. Okay, I'm just going to deactivate this one note because that is way better. That is just feeling so much better. Less is more. Sometimes we overcomplicate things. Well, I do at least. Okay, so I'm just tidying up some of these notes. So yeah, I'm constantly like listening back to it just to like see where things are sitting in terms of the balance and the mix. And you're going to find yourself doing that a lot when you're composing, is you're going to be listening back, using your ears to see where what you've just created is working and to see if you need to make any changes. And this is what you do as a composer. You listen and you listen and you listen. you know, just to see where you can improve things, to see if everything is sitting in its own space. More importantly, to hear if everything is sitting in its own space. So yeah, I feel like these percussive layers are way too loud. So we're going to bring down the volume, but not on the track. Let's bring down the volume on the utility. That is sitting much better in terms of the mix. The percussion is not overpowering everything. So another little fun fact about this opportunity that I won, which was a Screen Composer Intensive, I actually applied for it the year before and didn't get in. And I was really, really upset about it. And I had a lot of like emotions to feel through about not getting in, because I felt like I was like ready, you know, and so I didn't actually get in the first time that I applied for this intensive. And I almost didn't apply for it the year after as well. I wasn't going to apply for it, but at the very last minute, I put in an application and I actually got through. So if you've applied for something and you actually didn't get through on the first time, don't let that discourage you from like applying again. Like work through your emotions and all the disappointment that you have of not getting through the first time, and allow yourself to get to a space emotionally where you can actually apply again. It was actually because of my feelings of disappointment, anger, rejection that I almost didn't apply again. So what I recommend is to allow yourself to work through those feelings and don't let your pride get in the way, because if you just keep trying, you just might break through and be selected on the next round. So yeah, I'm really glad that I took a chance the second time and got over my pride and my anger and my feelings of rejection. And I'm really glad that I just gave it a go and applied again, because to get this opportunity was really life-changing, and it meant so much to me because, like I said in the previous video, getting into the film composing world is like really hard. And I'm just thankful for opportunities like this that gave me some exposure to this world. So I've just been refining some of the timing of these notes, and I'm just exploring different layers here of the Cuban percussion. And I'm getting kind of really nitpicky at this stage. Just really wanting to tighten up this idea. And yeah, I really want to ensure that I have the right layer that suits. And that's what you can do, is you can go back over the ideas that you had, just refine them, make sure they're the layers that you want. You can change things around. Really, on the first pass, you're just going through and getting your ideas in. And they're not going to be perfectly formulated ideas. So I really want this last note to really be loud, to have some dynamic range. Boom, that's perfect timing. And now we really have that moment accentuated. Okay, let's listen to the composition from the beginning. to get some perspective. Yeah, so getting back to the story, I think this story has so many great moments in it that has a variety of different like moods and feelings and emotions. So we've got the playfulness happening, we have action, we have sadness, and then we also have joy as well. And I think that this story has like such a great moral to it of community, friendship, and sharing, and something that we can all learn from in this world where we tend to be quite self-centered in our pursuits. And like I said, I really related to this kind of struggle here just to have one berry, as a music producer. It's been really tough over the past 10 years on my journey to pursue music full time as a career and be able to pay for my basic necessities. And if you are an absolute beginner just starting out on your journey, you're going to need a lot of perseverance and persistence in pursuing music as a career. Things don't happen overnight when it comes to being able to get paid for what you do. But following my dreams of being a full-time music producer, musician, artist has been worth it. It's been really hard, but really worth it. Like, my life has changed so much, and I have learned and grown so much over the past 10 years in terms of learning about myself, learning about who I am, learning about love and how to love, just like the llama and the penguin coming together at the end. So learning how to not be so self-centered in my life, learning how to love others. Because basically, to be honest, before I started this journey, I was a really self-centered person. And yeah, I was really self-centered and just really only cared about myself and my own needs and what I wanted to take from the world. And since going on this journey, it's been like a very big refinement process of my soul over the past 10 years in learning about love and growing and healing all that was unloving within me. And this is what your music journey can do for you. It can help you to grow in ways that you would never imagined. So it looks like I experimented with putting a soaring high strings there and having it crescendo up in terms of the volume automation, but didn't work out. Or did it? Am I going to put it back in? I'm not sure. But yeah, sometimes I feel like musicians, artists, music producers, I feel like the music industry is a very self-centered driven industry, and a lot of artists are self-centeredly driven. You know, they're out for themselves. Look at me, give me all the attention. Look at me, look at me. And so, yeah, the music industry can be quite selfish in that way. And that was the case on my journey, you know, like I found that a lot of my pursuits in music were very self-centered. And it's really been over the past 10 years that I've been working on finding ways that I can use my passions to be a gift to others and to benefit others. And if you can find a way for your music producer journey or your music journey to be a gift to others, a service that you can provide in the world that will help others to also grow in their life, then I think you're going to find a lot more joy and happiness in your pursuit of your dreams and your goals, because it's going to be a much greater, I guess, purpose to why you're doing what you're doing. Like, there's no greater feeling than engaging your passions in a way that brings you a lot of joy and also is of some kind of benefit to the world. I feel like just pursuing music because you want attention or you want glory and approval from the world, it becomes a very shallow pursuit. But when you engage your music journey in a way that is a gift to others and a gift to the world, it just makes the journey more meaningful. Because just like the llama and penguin, sharing is caring. And when we seek to uplift one another and give to one another, there's more happiness, there's more joy, there's more fulfillment. So yeah, I guess my biggest piece of like advice for those who are just starting out on their music producer journey or their artist journey is to find a way that you can engage your passion of music and your music journey to benefit others, to be of some kind of a service to others. You know, find a way to be able to incorporate that into why you're doing what you're doing. Like I said, the music industry can be a pretty shallow and self-centered industry where it's all about me, me, me. What can I get from the world rather than what can I give? So examining your intentions with music is a really important part of your journey. It's really important to ask yourself, what's my intention? What are my motivations for wanting to pursue music as a career? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Is it a pure desire or an addiction that I'm chasing? And that's really important to ask yourself, because what I've learned over the past 10 years, following your dreams and your passion is all about your desire to love and change. It's not actually about you being the next superstar or supermodel. Following your dreams is all about service and using your gifts and talents to serve your audience without any expectation of anything in return. And believe me, I have not been perfect in this at all. Following my passions has revealed to me all of my addictions, demands, and expectations that I've had for others to give me something in return. And what I've been learning is that you can't actually grow your passions when you are coming from a place of demand and expectation. And this is something that I wish I had have known at the beginning of my journey. So if you are thinking of pursuing music as a career and you're wanting to pursue this seriously, then it's really important to really purify your desires with it and work on removing any addiction that you might have with your pursuit of your dreams. And that can range from like wanting approval, glory, attention, just wanting to take from others. It can even be right down to greed. You're doing it for money, for fame, and for all of this status. And I think that's a really big issue in the music industry, is that we have a lot of musicians and artists going into the music industry with a lot of these impure desires. And as a result, we have a music industry which is pretty shallow and full of artists, who are just seeking attention. And there's just so much like arrogance and I don't know, just so much emphasis on fame and riches. So yeah, it's important to look at what you're chasing. We can really learn from the llama and the penguin here. What are we chasing? Are we just out for ourselves in our day-to-day lives? Just looking at what we can get from the world? Or are we going to actually use our gifts, our talents, our passions, and our pursuits in life to be of a service to others and to create community in our lives and to create connection and love and kindness towards each other? Or are we going to be in competition with each other? Are we going to be seeking for power and glory and the pursuit of our addictions? The music industry can change and has the potential to change, just like everybody has the potential to change. It just comes down to the individuals in the music industry. And the more the individuals in the music industry, the individuals that make up the music industry, desire to grow within and refine and purify their passions and their desires with music, the more the music industry will become a loving place for everyone to coexist in. Like right now, the music industry is a very dark place, and it doesn't have to be that way. I'm not saying that everyone in the music industry is in a dark place, but I'm just saying overall the music industry is in a very dark place because it prioritizes profits over people. It prioritizes addictions. It enables addictions in the artists. And it enables this culture of worshipping artists. When at the end of the day, every artist in the music industry is just a human being. And the fact that we have people glorifying and worshipping artists as gods and putting them up on pedestals, it's really unhealthy. It is really unhealthy because God created everyone as equal. And it's really unhealthy to worship and idolize someone else and put them above you when at the end of the day, they're just another human being and they're equal to you. So it's actually really icky. It's really like unhealthy for us to idolize other people and put them above us, because that is making ourselves inferior to those people. And it really creates a lot of inequality in the world, because we now have classes of people that we worship, that we put up on pedestals, that we glorify, that we, basically think the sun shines out of their ass, when in reality, everyone shits out of their ass. Like everyone is the same, like God created us all the same. We're all equal. but we've created these class systems in society based on wealth, money, wealth and riches. And it's just, really unhealthy, In God's world, what's valuable is love, kindness, equality, sharing, caring. And that's what we can really learn from this story. Connection and community and giving to others is more important than taking. So I've just been refining the notes in this marimba melody. So this is the final listen to the composition. Well, congratulations if you made it to the end of this video. I hope that this full uncut process has given you some insight on how to create tension and release in your music. I hope that you are now inspired to use your passion and unique purpose to serve and uplift others and give gifts in this world. Keep pushing forward, keep living your purpose, and I'll see you in the next video.